The alarm screamed through the monitoring station, and Commander Vexthor's 4 eyes snapped open. He had been reviewing supply reports when the sound pierced the usual quiet hum of the outpost. His clawed hand slammed the response panel and the alarm cut off. "Report," he barked into the comm system. "Sir, we have an unknown contact." The voice of his sensor operator trembled slightly. "It just appeared on the edge of our detection grid." Vexthor pulled himself up from his chair and moved quickly to the command center. The monitoring station was small, just 20 crew members stationed at the edge of Calvarian Empire space. Their job was simple and boring. Watch for pirates, watch for rebels, report anything unusual. In his 15 years at this post, Vexthor had never seen anything truly unusual. Until now. The main display showed a single blip moving through space. It was still far away, but something about it made Vexthor's scales prickle with unease. "What am I looking at?" he asked. The sensor operator, a young female named Sisra, touched her controls with shaking fingers. "I don't know, Commander. The signature doesn't match anything in our database. The energy readings are wrong." "Wrong how?" "The ship is moving faster than anything should. Not using jump gates. Not using any propulsion system we recognize. It's just moving. And the power output." She stopped and looked up at him. "Sir, if these readings are correct, that single vessel is generating more power than our entire battle station." Vexthor felt his blood run cold. "Check your equipment. Run a full diagnostic." "Already did, sir. 3 times. The readings are accurate." He stared at the display. The blip continued its steady approach toward their sector. "Can you get a visual?" "Trying, sir. The distance is extreme, and there's something about the hull that's making it difficult to scan. It's like the ship is slippery. Our sensors keep sliding off it." Minutes passed like hours. Vexthor ordered his crew to battle stations, even though their small monitoring post had minimal weapons. If this was a threat, they would need to call for help long before the ship arrived. But he wanted to know what he was dealing with first. "Got it," Sisera shouted. Visual coming through now. The display flickered, then resolved into an image that made every crew member in the command center freeze. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Sleek white hull with smooth lines that curved in ways that seemed impossible. No visible weapons ports, no obvious engines, no rough edges or armor plating. It looked more like a work of art than a warship. But the size. The readings said it was at least twice as large as their biggest cruisers. "What is that design?" someone whispered. Vexthor didn't answer. He was staring at something else. On the side of the hull, illuminated by the light of distant stars, was a marking. A symbol. Blue and white, circular, with strange patterns inside. He had seen that symbol before, years ago, during his training at the Imperial Academy, in a classified history lesson that all command officers had to take. A lesson about the Empire's greatest shame. "Magnify that marking," he ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. The image zoomed in. The symbol became clear. A blue circle with white continents, a planet, and around it symbols in a language that the Empire had tried to forget. Earth. "No," Vexthor breathed. "It can't be." "Sir?" Sisera looked at him with concern. "Do you recognize it?" Vexthor's mind raced. 300 years. It had been 300 years since the last time anyone had seen that mark. 300 years since the Empire had forbidden all travel to that sector of space. 300 years since they had tried to erase the memory of what happened there. "Send a Priority 1 alert to Imperial High Command," he said, forcing his voice to remain steady. "Maximum encryption. Tell them—" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell them the Terrans have returned." "Terrans?" Sisera looked confused. "I don't understand." "You don't need to understand. Just send the message now." As Sisera worked frantically at her station, Vexthor pulled up the classified files in his personal database. The files every commander kept locked away, the ones they hoped they would never need to access. The historical records of the Terran War. He read quickly, his heart's pounding. The colony ship. The first contact. The Empire's attack. And then, the nightmare that followed. 6 months of brutal combat. 3 entire fleets lost. An enemy that refused to surrender, refused to follow standard tactics, refused to die when they should have died. The Terrans had been primitives back then. Their technology had been centuries behind the Empire's. They shouldn't have stood a chance, but they had fought like demons. adapted to every strategy, learned from every battle, and when they finally escaped, they had left behind a trail of wreckage that took the Empire years to clean up. If that was what humans could do 300 years ago with primitive ships and weapons, what could they do now? Message sent, sir, Cicero reported. High Command is acknowledging. They're asking for more details. Tell them everything we have. Send them the sensor readings, the visual data, everything. And tell them. Vexthor looked at the display again, watching the ship continue its approach. Tell them we may need immediate evacuation. Evacuation? Cicero's voice rose in pitch. Sir, what's going on? What are the Terrans? Vexthor turned to face his crew. They all deserved to know the truth, even if it terrified them. 300 years ago, the Empire encountered a species from a planet called Earth. We attacked them without warning. We thought they would be easy to conquer. He gestured at the ship on the screen. We were wrong. They fought us to a standstill and escaped. The Empire classified everything about that war because we were humiliated. We lost thousands of ships to what we thought were primitives. The crew stared at him in shock. And now they're back. Vexthor continued. That's a human ship. And if they've had 300 years to advance their technology. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Cicero's screens lit up with incoming messages. Sir, High Command is responding. They're mobilizing the 7th Armada. Admiral Kosovara is taking personal command. They're ordering us to maintain observation but under no circumstances attempt contact or engagement. Vexthor nodded. At least High Command understood the danger. But as he watched the human ship glide effortlessly through space, moving at speeds that should have been impossible, generating power that should have been unthinkable, he wondered if even the 7th Armada would be enough. The Terrans were back, and the Empire had 300 years to fear what that might mean. Admiral Kosovara stood in the war room of the Imperial Command Center, staring at the data streaming across the holographic display. Around him, military advisors and historians worked frantically, pulling up files that hadn't been accessed in centuries. Show me everything, he commanded. I don't care if it's classified. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. The head archivist, an elderly Calvarian named Thespak, nodded and touched the central console. The room dimmed and images began to appear in the air around them. The incident occurred 307 years ago, Thespak began, his voice quiet and measured. A human colony ship called New Horizon entered our space in the outer rim sectors. At that time, Earth had only just begun exploring beyond their own solar system. The ship was primitive by our standards. Fusion engines, basic weapons, simple hull construction. Kosovara watched as the images showed the old colony ship. It was ugly and blocky, nothing like the sleek vessel they had detected today. What happened? He asked, though he already knew the answer from his command training. Imperial Fleet Commander Zexthal was stationed in that sector. When he detected the human ship, he followed standard protocol for unknown alien vessels. Thespak paused. He attacked without warning. The hologram showed the battle. 3 Calvarian cruisers against 1 colony ship. It should have been over in minutes. The humans tried to communicate first, Thespak continued. They broadcast messages in multiple formats. But Zexthal believed they were primitives who had stumbled into our space. He thought capturing their ship would be easy. He wanted to bring them back as prizes to study. But he failed, Kosovara said. Yes, the colony ship fought back. Their weapons were weak, but they used them cleverly. They targeted specific systems instead of trying to destroy our ships outright. They used debris fields for cover. They adapted their tactics every few minutes. Commander Zexthal reported that it was like fighting an enemy that could read his mind. The hologram showed the battle dragging on. Hours turned to days. The human ship was damaged but still fighting. Then more Calvarian ships arrived. Zexthal called for reinforcements, Thespak explained. He sent for an entire battle fleet. 20 warships to capture 1 colony vessel. But the humans... The old archivist's voice filled with something that might have been respect. They didn't surrender. They didn't run. They organized their defense with precision. Kosovara watched the hologram in silence. The human ship was surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned. Any rational species would have given up. Instead, the humans fought harder. There was a soldier on that ship, Thespak said. A human named Jinwu. When the Calvarian boarding parties tried to take the ship by force, he held the main corridor alone for 3 days. 72 hours without rest. He killed or wounded over 200 of our soldiers before reinforcements reached him. The humans called him a hero. Our soldiers called him a demon. The hologram showed a figure in damaged armor, standing among piles of bodies still fighting. Kosovara felt his skin grow cold. The war continued for 6 months, Thesepak went on. The Empire committed 3 entire fleets to capturing or destroying that single colony ship. We lost thousands of vessels, tens of thousands of crew members, and in the end the humans escaped. They damaged our jump gate network in that sector and disappeared into deep space. How? Kosovara demanded. How did primitives accomplish this? Because they weren't just primitives, another voice answered. An old general named Krevith stepped forward. He had been there, one of the few survivors of the war. They were humans, and we didn't understand what that meant. Kosovara turned to face him. Explain. Every species in the Empire fights according to established doctrine, Krevith said. We have rules, strategies, expected behaviors. When we lose a certain percentage of our forces, we retreat. When a battle becomes unwinnable, we surrender. When facing superior numbers, we negotiate. He gestured at the hologram. Humans don't do any of that. They fight until they win or until they physically cannot continue. They adapt faster than any species we've ever encountered. They treat warfare like problem solving. Every time we developed a new strategy, they countered it within hours. Every weakness we tried to exploit, they turned into a trap. But their technology was inferior, Kosovara insisted. Yes, and they knew it. So they didn't fight us with technology. They fought us with creativity and pure, stubborn determination. They used asteroids as weapons. They hacked our communication systems. They even built fake ships out of debris to confuse our sensors. Krevith's voice was bitter. We were fighting them with honor and established tactics. They were fighting to survive by any means necessary. There is no contest between those two approaches. The room fell silent. Kosovara looked back at the hologram, watching the human colony ship finally escape through a damaged jump gate, leaving behind 3 destroyed fleets and an empire too humiliated to admit what had happened. Why was this classified? He asked. Because the Emperor at the time couldn't afford to admit defeat, Thesepak answered. Couldn't admit that the mighty Calvarian Empire had been beaten by unknown aliens with primitive technology. So he classified everything, declared that sector of space forbidden, erased the incident from all public records. Only command officers were allowed to know the truth, and we forgot about them, Kosovara said quietly. We assumed they would stay in their own space, that we would never see them again. Yes, Thesepak confirmed. We forgot about the humans, but apparently they didn't forget about us. Kosovara turned to his advisors. Current estimates. If that colony ship from 3 centuries ago was that dangerous with primitive technology, what kind of capabilities does the ship we detected today possess? The head of military analysis, a female named Kesira, brought up new projections. Admiral, if we assume standard technological progression, the humans should now be several generations ahead of where they were. But based on the energy readings from this vessel, they're not just ahead. They've made leaps that we can't explain. Their power generation alone suggests they've discovered physics principles we don't understand. Weapons capabilities? Unknown. The ship shows no obvious weapon ports, which could mean their weapons are internal and deployable. Or it could mean the entire ship is a weapon. We don't have enough data. Kosovara felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. What are our options? Krevith spoke up. With respect, Admiral, we have only one option. Destroy that ship before it can report back to Earth. If they're here to scout for an invasion, we need to stop them now. And if it's not a military vessel? Someone asked. Then we've made first contact by destroying their ship, another advisor said. That could mean war. We're already at war, Krevith insisted. We've been at war since 300 years ago. This is just the next phase. If we don't strike first, they will. Kosovara looked around the room. Fear. He saw fear in every face. Fear of the unknown. Fear of history repeating. Fear of an enemy that had beaten them once before with nothing but determination and ingenuity. Mobilize the 7th Armada, he ordered finally. 200 ships? Full battle readiness. We intercept that vessel before it gets any closer to our core systems. And our orders regarding engagement? Kesira asked. Kosovara stared at the hologram showing the old colony ship still fighting against impossible odds. He thought about Jinwu holding a corridor for 3 days. He thought about humans who refused to surrender. He thought about what 300 years might have done to a species like that. Destroy it on sight, he said. Give them no chance to fight back. No warnings. No communication. We hit them with everything we have, and we don't stop until that ship is dust. He prayed to the old gods that it would be enough. Captain Hune stretched in his chair and smiled at the view on the main display. The nebula ahead glowed with purple and gold light, clouds of gas and dust stretching across thousands of kilometers. After 3 months in deep space, the sight never got old. Beautiful, isn't it? Minji said from the engineering station. She was monitoring the ship's new jump drive, making sure all systems stayed stable. Beautiful and scientifically interesting, Yuna added from her position at the science console. The young woman's eyes sparkled with excitement. The radiation patterns are unlike anything we've seen before. If I'm reading this correctly, there might be exotic matter formations inside the nebula. Hyun nodded. This was what the Prometheus Dawn had been built for. Exploration, discovery. Humanity had finally developed technology that could reach the stars, and now they were out here, charting new systems and making first contact with whatever they might find. How long until we reach the nebula? He asked. At current speed, about 6 hours, Minji replied. The new drive is performing perfectly. We're making better time than expected. Hyun felt proud of his ship and crew. The Prometheus Dawn was humanity's newest exploration vessel, equipped with experimental technology that would have seemed like magic just a generation ago. The jump drive could fold space without using traditional gates. The shields could protect them from radiation and micrometeorites. The sensors could detect objects light years away, and his crew was the best Earth could offer. Yuna was a brilliant scientist who had published 3 papers before her 25th birthday. Minji was an engineering genius who had helped design the ship's core systems. Doyen, his communications officer, could speak 7 languages and had trained specifically for first contact scenarios. Taeyang, the weapons officer, was former military, but had eagerly joined the peaceful exploration program. Jisoo, their medical officer, had treated more alien biology simulations than anyone else in the service. They were ready for anything. Or so Hyun thought. Captain, I'm picking up something odd, Doyen said suddenly, frowning at his console. The young man touched several controls, adjusting frequencies. There's a lot of electromagnetic activity in this sector. More than there should be. Natural phenomenon? Hyun asked. I don't think so. It has structure, patterns. It's too organized to be random. Doyen worked for another minute, then looked up with excitement. Captain, I think these are alien transmissions. We might not be alone out here. The bridge fell silent. Then everyone started talking at once. First contact, Yuna exclaimed. About time, Minji grinned. We've been exploring for months and haven't seen anything but empty systems. Hyun felt his heart race. This was the moment they had all hoped for. The moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. Contact with another intelligent species. Doyen, can you locate the source? He asked, forcing himself to remain calm and professional. Working on it, sir. The signals are coming from multiple points. I think there's a network of stations or ships spread throughout this sector. They're using a communication protocol I don't recognize, but I might be able to decode it given time. Don't decode their private communications, Hyun ordered. That would be rude. Can you broadcast a first contact message? Yes, sir. Standard protocols? Standard protocols. All languages, all frequencies. Let them know we come in peace. Doyen nodded and began preparing the message. Hyun turned to Taeyang at the weapons station. Power down all weapon systems. I want to make it clear we're not a threat. Taeyang looked uncertain. Sir, if they're hostile, then we'll run. But we're not going into first contact with guns pointed at them. That's not who we are. Yes, sir. Taeyang began shutting down the ship's defensive lasers and missile systems. Hyun turned to Jisoo at the medical station. Doctor, start reviewing xenobiology protocols. We might need them soon. Jisoo nodded, pulling up files on her display. Should I prepare a quarantine section? Good idea. Just in case. Message ready, Captain, Doyen reported. Broadcasting now on all frequencies. The bridge crew waited in tense silence. Seconds turned to minutes. The alien transmissions continued, but there was no response to their message. Try again, Hyun ordered. Maybe they didn't receive it. Doyen broadcast the message again. And again. And still no response. This is strange, Yuna said, studying her sensor data. I'm detecting a lot of energy signatures out there, a lot. Whatever these aliens have, they've got a big presence in this sector. How big? Hyun asked. At least 20 distinct energy sources. Maybe more. They're hard to scan clearly. And Captain, Yuna's voice became worried. They're all moving. Converging on a single point. What point? Yuna looked up at him, her face pale. Us, they're all moving toward us. Yun felt ice form in his stomach. Doyun, are you sure the message was clear? Did we say we come in peace? Yes, sir. Absolutely clear. I sent it in every format we have. Mathematical patterns, pictograms, even basic audio. There's no way they could misunderstand. Then why are they converging on us? Nobody had an answer. Minji, how fast can we jump out of here if we need to? Hyun asked. The engineer checked her systems. The drive needs 15 minutes to charge for a jump. We used it an hour ago to get here. 15 minutes. Hyun looked at the sensor display showing all those energy signatures moving toward them. How long did they have? Captain, I'm picking up more signals, Doyun said. These ones are in a different format, older. Wait. He worked frantically at his console. Sir, I managed to decode a fragment. It's a language code from 300 years ago. Early interstellar era. But why would they be using, what does it say? Hyun demanded. Doyun's face went white. It says, Terrans, they keep saying Terrans, and mobilize, attack, destroy. He looked up at Hyun. Captain, I think they're planning to attack us. That doesn't make sense, Yuna protested. We just got here. We haven't done anything. Why would they attack? Sung-ho, get up here, Hyun called into the ship's intercom. I need your AI skills now. The AI specialist arrived on the bridge within seconds, out of breath from running. Sung-ho was young and brilliant, one of the best programmers Earth had ever produced. Captain? Help Doyun crack those alien communications. I need to know what's happening out there and why they think we're a threat. Sung-ho slid into a console next to Doyun, and both men began working. Their fingers flew over the controls, running programs and analyzing data streams. Got something, Sung-ho said after 5 minutes. It's military communication. Very structured. They're coordinating a fleet movement. Admiral, battle formation, weapons charging. They are going to attack, Doyun said in disbelief. They're mobilizing their military against us, but why? Minji asked. We haven't done anything. Captain, there's something else, Sung-ho said, his voice shaking. I found references to historical files in their system. Something about a war. 300 years ago? Between the Calvarian Empire and... He stopped. And who? Hyun pressed. And Earth? Captain, I think we were here before. I think humans fought these people 3 centuries ago. The bridge fell into stunned silence. That's impossible, Hyun said. We don't have any records of that. Our early colony missions all returned safely. There was never a war. Maybe one didn't return, Yuna suggested quietly. Maybe one of those old colony ships ran into these people and had to fight them. Hyun's mind raced. If that was true, if humans had fought the Calvarian Empire 300 years ago, then these people weren't looking at the Prometheus Dawn as a peaceful explorer. They were seeing it as a weapon, as a threat. How many ships are coming? He asked. Yuna checked her sensors. At least 50, no wait. More signatures appearing. 100. 200. She looked up at him with fear in her eyes. Captain, they're sending an entire armada. Just for us, Hyun made a decision. Doyun, broadcast on every frequency. Tell them we are not military. Tell them we didn't know about any past conflict. Tell them we just want to talk. Broadcasting now, sir. But even as the message went out, Hyun watched the sensor display. 200 ships, an entire armada, coming to destroy his small exploration vessel and his crew of scientists, and they had 15 minutes before they could jump away. He looked around at his crew. Young faces, bright minds, people who had signed up to explore the universe, not fight wars. Taeyang, he said quietly, bring weapon systems back online. Admiral Kosovara stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Destruction's Edge, and watched his armada assemble. 200 warships, the pride of the Calvarian 7th Fleet, arranged in perfect attack formation. The largest military mobilization in decades, all focused on a single target. The human ship hung in space ahead of them, seemingly unaware of the doom approaching. Or perhaps they knew and simply didn't care. Kosovara wasn't sure which possibility frightened him more. Status report, he commanded. All ships in position, his tactical officer replied. Weapons charged and locked on target. Shields at maximum. The human vessel is still broadcasting their peace messages. Kosovara listened to the transmission playing through his console. Strange sounds, mathematical patterns, images showing aliens that looked oddly fragile. 2 legs, 2 arms, no scales or natural armor. They seemed harmless. Weak even, but Kosovara had read the historical files. He knew better. Do not be fooled by their appearance, he said to his bridge crew. 300 years ago, our ancestors made that mistake. These creatures are dangerous beyond measure. Sir, they've powered down their weapons, another officer reported. Their defensive systems are at minimum power. A trick, Kosovara said immediately. They want us to think they're peaceful. To lower our guard. Then they'll strike when we're vulnerable. He pulled up the tactical display, studying the human ship. It was larger than his flagship, which was concerning. The energy readings were still off the scale. And despite their broadcasts about peace, Kosovara could see the truth. This was a warship, had to be. No peaceful exploration vessel would be this powerful. They're testing us, he said, seeing how we respond. Gathering data for their invasion fleet. Should we open communications? His diplomatic officer asked hesitantly. Perhaps we should at least try to talk to them. No, Kosovara said flatly. Communication is what they want. Time to study us, analyze our weaknesses, relay information back to Earth. We will not give them that opportunity. He activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Kosovara. In exactly 5 minutes, we will commence firing. Concentrated bombardment on the target vessel. Do not stop until it is completely destroyed. No survivors. No wreckage large enough to contain working technology. We will erase this ship from existence. Acknowledgements flooded in from 200 captains. Kosovara watched the countdown timer begin. 5 minutes until they saved the Empire. On the Prometheus Dawn, Captain Hyun stared at the impossible numbers on his display. 200 ships, he said quietly. They're really sending 200 ships to attack us. Maybe it's not an attack, Jisoo suggested hopefully. Maybe it's just a show of force? A way to intimidate us into leaving. They're charging weapons, Taeyang reported grimly. Every single ship. All weapons. All pointed at us. Captain, that much firepower. He didn't finish the sentence. Hyun understood. That much firepower could destroy a planet. And it was all aimed at his single ship. 12 minutes until jump drive is ready, Minji said, her voice tight with stress. Can we last 12 minutes? We'd better, Hyun replied. Because there's nowhere to hide out here. Sungho was still working with Doyun, frantically trying to crack more of the alien communications. I've got more historical data, he reported. Captain, the war 300 years ago was bad. Really bad. The Empire sent 3 entire fleets after 1 human colony ship. Lost all 3 fleets. The humans escaped, but the Empire never forgot. So they see us as invaders, Hyun said, finally understanding. They think we're here for revenge. Or to finish what that colony ship started, Yuna added. Captain, from their perspective, we're the dangerous ones. We're the threat. Hyun felt the weight of that realization. Somewhere in the past, some brave humans on a colony ship had fought against impossible odds and won. They had become legends to an entire alien empire, and now that empire looked at the Prometheus Dawn and saw those same humans, advanced and powerful after 3 centuries. No wonder they were terrified. Doyun, send another message, Hyun ordered. Tell them we know about the war. Tell them we're not here for revenge. Tell them we just want peace. Sending now, sir. But Hyun could see the alien ships moving into final attack positions. They weren't going to listen. They were too afraid. Captain, we need to prepare for combat, Taeyang said firmly. I know we're not a warship, but we have defensive systems. The shields can take some punishment. The point defense lasers can shoot down missiles. If we're going to survive 12 minutes, we need to use everything we have. Hyun looked around at his crew. Scientists, engineers, explorers. People who had never been in a real battle. Bring all defensive systems online, he ordered. Full shields. Active point defense. Minji, divert every spare bit of power to protection. On it, Minji said, her fingers dancing across her console. But Captain, if they all fire at once, I don't know if even our shields can handle it. We'll find out, Hyun said grimly. Taeyang, do we have any offensive capability? The debris clearance lasers, Taeyang replied. They're meant for shooting asteroids and space junk, but in theory they could damage enemy ships. And we have the emergency kinetic impactors. They're really just chunks of dense metal we can fire at high speed. Again, meant for emergency situations, not combat. Better than nothing, Hyun said. Prepare them, but don't fire unless I give the order. I want to make it clear we're defending ourselves, not attacking. 11 minutes, Minji announced. Admiral Kosovara watched the timer count down. 3 minutes until the attack. The human ship was still broadcasting peace messages, still claiming they meant no harm. He almost wanted to believe them. Almost. Sir, we're receiving new transmissions from the target, his communications officer said. They're saying they know about the old war. They claim they're not here for revenge. Of course they'd say that, Kosovara replied. What else would they say? That they're here to destroy us? Lies are easy. But sir, what if they're telling the truth? What if this really is just an exploration vessel? Kosovara turned to face his officer. Then we will have started a war. But if they're lying, if this is a military scout ship and we do nothing, then we've doomed the Empire. I choose to protect our people. I choose to assume the worst. 1 minute, the tactical officer announced. Kosovara took a deep breath. All ships, final weapons check. Prepare to fire on my mark. Captain, they're about to fire, Sung-Ho said, monitoring the alien communications. I'm reading final attack orders. 20 seconds, Hyun gripped his chair. All crew brace for impact. Shields to maximum. Minji, I hope your engineering is as good as you think it is. So do I, Minji replied, watching her power distribution systems carefully. Shields at 120%. I'm borrowing power from life support and secondary systems. 10 seconds. Sung-Ho counted down. 9-8. Yuna grabbed her console. Jisoo whispered a prayer. Doyen kept broadcasting peace messages even though he knew nobody was listening. 3, 2, 1. The universe exploded into light. 200 ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams, missiles, plasma bolts, kinetic projectiles. Enough firepower to glass a continent, all focused on the Prometheus Dawn. The ship's shields flared brilliant blue, absorbing the initial impact. The bridge shook violently. Consoles sparked. Lights flickered. Shields holding, Minji shouted over the noise. But they're draining fast. 90%. 85%. Return fire, Kosovara commanded. Keep firing. Don't give them a chance to recover. The Armada poured destruction onto the human ship. Wave after wave of weapons fire. The void lit up like a star had been born. Shields at 70%, Minji reported. 60%. Captain, we can't take this for long. Hyun made a decision he never wanted to make. Taeyang, target their weapon systems. I don't want to kill anyone, but we need to stop them from firing. Use the debris clearance lasers. Minimum power. Just enough to disable their weapons. Yes, sir, Taeyang said, and began targeting solutions. The Prometheus Dawn's lasers, designed to cut through asteroids and clear navigation hazards, activated. Precise beams of concentrated energy, guided by AI-assisted targeting that could track thousands of debris particles simultaneously. They were only meant to destroy rocks, but they worked just as well on alien warships. The first beam struck a Calvarian cruiser's forward weapons array. The precise cut severed power conduits and destroyed targeting sensors. The ship went dark, its weapons offline. The second beam hit another ship. The third. The fourth Taeyang worked methodically, his targeting system predicting enemy positions with frightening accuracy. Every shot hit exactly where he aimed. Every shot disabled a ship without destroying it completely. What? Admiral Kosovara stared in horror at his tactical display. His ships were going dark. One by one, with surgical precision, the human vessel was neutralizing his fleet. Sir, the enemy weapons are incredibly precise, his tactical officer reported in shock. They're not trying to destroy us. They're disabling weapon systems only. Our crews are alive, but the ships are combat ineffective. 30 ships disabled, 40, 50, all ships evasive maneuvers. Kosovara ordered desperately.
Don't let them target you!
But it didn't matter. The human targeting system adapted to every evasion, predicted every movement. It was like fighting an enemy that could see the future. Shields at 40%, Minji reported. But we're managing. The debris cleared. The battle lasted 15 minutes. To Admiral Kosovara, it felt like 15 hours. He watched his proud armada, 200 of the Empire's finest warships, reduced to floating hulks. Not destroyed, which somehow made it worse. The human ship could have killed them all. Instead, it had systematically disabled every vessel with clinical precision. 123 ships were now drifting in space, weapons offline, crews unharmed but helpless. The remaining ships had stopped firing. What was the point? Every shot they fired was absorbed by shields that seemed impossible to damage. Every attempt to target the human vessel was countered by evasive maneuvers that made their warship move like a fighter craft. And through it all, the humans kept broadcasting the same message. We don't want war. Please stop firing. We mean you no harm. Kosovara slumped in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. His flagship was still operational, but barely. The humans had spared it until last, and when they finally targeted it, they had been so precise that they disabled only the weapon systems. Life support, engines, sensors all still worked. They could see everything. Do nothing, Admiral, his communications officer said quietly. The humans are hailing us. They want to talk. Kosovara almost laughed. Now they wanted to talk. After destroying the Empire's pride, after proving that 300 years had turned them into something unstoppable. Put them through, he said tiredly. The display flickered and showed the interior of the human bridge. A male figure sat in the center chair wearing a dark blue uniform. He looked young. Humans always looked young to Calvarian eyes, but his expression was serious, almost sad. I am Captain Hyun of the Earth vessel Prometheus Dawn, the human said in perfect Calvarian. Are you in command of this fleet? Admiral Kosovara, he replied. I command what remains of it, yes. Admiral, I need you to understand something. We did not come here to fight. We didn't even know about the war 300 years ago. Our records don't mention it. That colony ship that fought your empire never made it back to Earth. We thought they were lost in space. We had no idea they encountered your people. Kosovara studied the human's face, looking for signs of deception. He found none. Just genuine regret? You expect me to believe that? He asked. Your vessel is the most powerful warship I've ever seen. You destroyed my fleet in minutes. We're not a warship, Captain Hyun said and gestured around his bridge. Look at my crew, scientists, engineers, explorers. This ship was built to study nebulas and chart star systems. Everything you saw was defensive systems and tools meant for peaceful purposes. Peaceful purposes don't disable 100 warships, Kosovara said bitterly. The shields are meant to protect us from radiation and cosmic debris, Hyun explained. The lasers you saw are for clearing navigation hazards, asteroids, space junk. The targeting system was designed to track thousands of small objects simultaneously. We needed that precision for our mission. He paused. We never thought we'd use any of it in combat. On the Prometheus Dawn bridge, Minji leaned close to Hyun and whispered, The jump drive is ready. We can leave any time. Hyun shook his head slightly. If they ran now, the Empire would see it as a retreat before a larger attack. They'd spend the next decades preparing for an invasion that would never come. Better to stay and try to explain. Admiral, can I show you something? Hyun asked. Without waiting for an answer, he nodded to Doyun, who brought up images on the shared display. Pictures appeared. Humans on Earth living in cities that gleamed with technology. Humans on Mars terraforming the red planet. Humans throughout their solar system. Building stations and habitats, and beyond other ships like the Prometheus Dawn exploring new stars. This is humanity, Hyun said. We spent 3 centuries expanding, learning, growing. We developed new technology because we wanted to reach the stars. We built ships like this one because we wanted to explore the universe. We created powerful systems because space is dangerous and we needed to protect our people. But Admiral, he looked directly at the camera. We never built any of it for war. We're not warriors. We're explorers. Kosovara looked at the images. So much technology, so much power. All of it focused on peaceful expansion. The colony ship that fought you 300 years ago, Hyun continued, they were brave people trying to survive. You attacked them without warning. You tried to capture or kill them. They fought back because they had no choice. They won because humans are very, very stubborn when our lives are threatened. But they never wanted that fight. And now you've returned, Kosovara said. More powerful. More advanced. What are we supposed to think? That we're curious, Hyun replied simply. We came to this sector because our sensors detected interesting radiation patterns from the nebula ahead. We wanted to study it. We had no idea you were here. No idea about the history. He gestured to his crew. Look at their faces, Admiral. Do they look like conquerors? We're just as shocked by all this as you are. Sung-ho spoke up from his station. Admiral Kosovara, I've been analyzing your communication protocols. Your technology is sophisticated but fundamentally different from ours. We developed along completely separate paths. If we had known about you, If there had been any contact in 300 years, our technology would show similarities. But it doesn't. That proves we've been isolated from you. Proves we're telling the truth. Kosovara considered this. The logic was sound. The technology in the human ship was unlike anything in Calvarian design. If Earth had been preparing for war against the Empire, they would have studied Calvarian systems and incorporated countermeasures. Instead, everything looked completely alien. Independent development. What do you want from us? He asked finally. Nothing, Yun said, except maybe to start over. Forget the past. Humans don't hold grudges against you for what happened 300 years ago. We didn't even know about it until today. We'd like to make friends, trade knowledge, learn about each other. But if you want us to leave and never come back, we'll do that too. It's your choice. Admiral Kosovara looked around his disabled flagship. His defeated fleet, the Empire's pride, shattered by what was essentially a civilian research vessel. If the humans wanted to invade, they could. If they wanted to destroy the Empire, nothing could stop them. But they didn't want that. They wanted to be friends. I need to contact my government, he said carefully. This is beyond my authority to decide. We understand, Yun replied. We'll wait. And Admiral, we're sorry about your ships. If you give us time, maybe our engineer can help repair them. Minji is very good with technology. Minji waved awkwardly at the screen. I've been studying your power systems through our scans. I think I can see the problem. It would take a few hours per ship, but we could probably fix most of them. Kosovara stared. The humans had disabled his fleet, and now they were offering to repair it. It was insane. It was impossible. It was exactly what someone who genuinely wanted peace would do. I'll consult with my superiors, he said. The connection ended. Kosovara sat in silence for a long moment, then activated his emergency channel to Imperial High Command. This is Admiral Kosovara. I need to speak with the Emperor immediately. It's about the Terrans. He paused, trying to find the right words. They're not what we thought. We need to negotiate. We need to make peace, and we need to do it before they realize just how powerful they've become. On the Prometheus Dawn, Hyun let out a long breath. That went better than expected, Yuna said. We're not done yet, Hyun replied. But it's a start. Do-Yun, prepare a detailed report for Earth. The Council needs to know everything that happened here. Already working on it, sir, Do-Yun said. Taeyang spoke up from his station. Captain, should I keep the weapons armed? No, Hyun said immediately. Power everything down. Back to minimal defensive status. I want to show good faith. Sir, what if they attack again? They won't, Hyun said, watching the disabled fleet on his sensors. They're scared. They think we're dangerous. The last thing we should do is act dangerous. Minji brought up engineering displays. If we're really going to help repair their ships, I should start analyzing their systems in detail. This is fascinating technology. Different principles, but elegant in its own way. Do it, Hyun approved. And prepare a cultural package for Earth. Information about the Calvarian Empire, their language, their history. We're going to need diplomats out here, and they'll need to know what they're dealing with. Jisoo, who had been quiet through the entire battle, finally spoke. Captain, do you think we can really make peace with them? After what happened? Hyun looked at his crew. Young faces, bright minds, people who had just survived their first combat without losing their idealism. I think we have to try, he said. Because if we don't, if we let fear and old grudges control us, then we're no better than the Empire that attacked that colony ship 300 years ago. Humans have always been better than that. We explore, we learn, we reach out. That's who we are. He stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, unaware that they'd just made first contact with an alien empire, unaware that their exploration vessel had won a battle against 200 warships, unaware that humanity had become one of the